Loopholes in the U.S. government. 1. The legislative branch, Congress. A. The filibuster, Senate Rule XXI. What it is, a parliamentary procedure that allows a minority of senators, 41 out of 100, to block a vote on most legislation by extending debate indefinitely. It is not in the Constitution, but is a standing rule of the Senate. The loophole. The original intent was to protect unlimited debate. Today, it's used as a pure obstruction tool. A senator doesn't even have to talk continuously. They can simply threaten a filibuster, and unless 60 senators vote to end debate, cloture, the bill is effectively dead. How it's exploited. A partisan minority can block widely supported legislation, leading to gridlock. This forces major legislation to be passed through other loopholes, like reconciliation, which have their own limitations. B. Budget reconciliation. What it is, a special process created by the Congressional Budget Act of 1974 to expedite passage of certain budget-related legislation. The loophole. Bills under reconciliation cannot be filibustered and only need a simple majority, 51 votes, to pass in the Senate, bypassing the 60-vote requirement. How it's exploited. Because it's one of the only ways to bypass the filibuster, parties use it to pass major, controversial policy changes that are only tangentially related to the budget. The rules, Byrd Rule, are supposed to limit this, but the Senate parliamentarians' advice can be overruled or worked around. Examples include the Trump tax cuts and parts of the Affordable Care Act. C. Earmarks, pork barrel spending. What it is, provisions inserted into spending bills that direct funds to specific projects in a legislator's district or state. The loophole. While there have been reforms to increase transparency, earmarks are still a powerful tool. The loophole is their use as a vote-buying mechanism. Leadership can secure a crucial yes vote on a larger, unpopular bill by including a prized earmark for a reluctant member's district. D. Committee chair power and bill burying. What it is, committee chairs have significant control over the legislation that comes before their committee. The loophole. A chair who opposes a bill can simply refuse to hold a hearing or a vote on it. This is known as burying a bill in committee. A bill with broad support can be killed by a single individual without ever getting a floor vote. 2. The executive branch, president and agencies. A. Executive orders and agency guidance. What it is, the president can issue executive orders to direct the operations of the federal government. Agencies can issue guidance documents, memos, and Dear Colleague letters to clarify how they will enforce laws. The loophole. These tools are meant to help execute laws passed by Congress. However, they can be used to effectively create new policy without congressional approval. For example, a president can use an order to change enforcement priorities on immigration, like DACA, or an agency can reinterpret a statute to achieve a policy goal. This is often criticized as legislating from the White House. B. The acting appointments. What it is, the Constitution requires high-level presidential appointees to be confirmed by the Senate. The Federal Vacancies Reform Act, FVRA, allows the president to temporarily appoint an acting official without Senate confirmation. The loophole. Presidents can bypass the Senate's advice and consent role by keeping officials in acting roles for extended periods, sometimes for an entire term. This allows them to place someone in a powerful position who could never garner enough Senate votes for confirmation. C. Impoundment, the power of the purse. What it is, the president's ability to refuse to spend money appropriated by Congress. The loophole. While the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974 was designed to limit this power, after President Nixon abused it, presidents still find ways. They can use rescission requests to ask Congress to cancel funding, or they can simply slow-walk the spending of funds to effectively sabotage a program Congress has mandated. 3. The judicial branch, courts. A. Judge shopping. What it is, the practice of plaintiffs filing lawsuits in specific federal district courts where they know the case will be assigned to a single, ideologically sympathetic judge. The loophole. In certain judicial districts, especially those with only 1 or 2 judges, plaintiffs can almost guarantee which judge will hear their case. This allows activists and states to handpick a judge likely to issue a nationwide injunction against a presidential administration's policy, effectively making a single district court judge's ruling apply to the entire country. B. Shadow docket. What it is: orders and decisions issued by the Supreme Court that are not the product of full briefing, oral arguments, and signed opinions, the merits docket. The loophole: the court is increasingly using this emergency process to make significant rulings on major policy issues, e.g., immigration, abortion, COVID mandates, without transparency or detailed legal reasoning. This allows for major legal shifts based on brief, one-sided filings rather than thorough judicial review. 4. Systemic and electoral loopholes. A. Gerrymandering. What it is: the drawing of electoral district boundaries to favor one political party or class. The loophole: using sophisticated data, state legislatures, who control redistricting, can draw maps that pack opposition voters into a few districts or crack them across many districts to dilute their power. This creates safe seats, where the primary election is the only contest that matters, incentivizing politicians to appeal only to their party's base rather than the general electorate, increasing polarization. B. The Electoral College, winner-take-all. What it is: the system for electing the president. Each state gets electors equal to its congressional representation. 48 states award all their electoral votes to the winner of the state's popular vote. The loophole: this system creates swing states. Campaigns focus virtually all their attention and policy promises on a handful of states, e.g., Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, while voters in reliably blue or red states have their presidential vote effectively rendered less consequential. A president can be elected without winning the national popular vote. C. Campaign finance and dark money. What it is: the system of financing political campaigns. The loophole: while there are contribution limits to candidates, the system is riddled with gaps. Super PACs can raise and spend unlimited sums of money from corporations, unions, and individuals to advocate for or against candidates, as long as they do not coordinate with the candidate's campaign, a rule often circumvented in practice. Dark money. Funds given to nonprofit organizations like 501(c)(4) social welfare groups that can spend money on elections without disclosing their donors. This allows for massive, anonymous influence over elections. Conclusion: why these loopholes persist. These features are often not bugs but features of a complex, federalist system designed for checks and balances. They persist because 1. They benefit those in power. The party in control, whether in a state legislature, gerrymandering, or the Senate, filibuster, often uses these tools to entrench its power. 2. Difficulty of change. Fixing most of these requires constitutional amendments, electoral college, or the actors who benefit from the rules to vote against their own self-interest, Senate changing the filibuster. 3. Ambiguity. The Constitution is a brief document filled with purposeful ambiguity. This flexibility allows the system to adapt, but also creates perpetual room for exploitation and reinterpretation based on who is in power.